My name is Ruby Bailey. I'm 34 years old, and I've been a firefighter for 12 years. I've run into burning buildings while people were running out. I've held hands with strangers in their last moments. I've learned how to breathe through chaos. But nothing prepared me for the night my boyfriend turned my panic attack into content. 3 months before everything fell apart, my crew responded to an apartment complex fire just after midnight, the kind that eats oxygen and screams through walls. Thick smoke, screaming residents, a third floor that wouldn't stop creaking. We got most people out fast. On the third floor, I found a woman unconscious in a bathroom, her child, maybe 4 or 5, curled up beside the tub, soaking wet from the shower they'd tried to use as protection. I grabbed them both. The kid was coughing, crying, alive. Halfway down the stairs, the structure gave way. I fell about 15 feet. I remember twisting midair, instinct overriding fear, turning my body so the child hit me instead of concrete. I remember the sound, metal snapping, something cracking, and then nothing. The kid survived with minor injuries. The woman didn't. I fractured 3 ribs, dislocated my shoulder, and suffered second-degree burns across my back. Physically, I healed. Mentally, that's harder to measure. The doctors call it PTSD, panic attacks, triggers, therapy, medication, breathing exercises. I did everything right, and it was working, slowly. Smoke alarms, the smell of burning food, sudden crashes. Those were my enemies now. My boyfriend, Evan, was 29. We'd been together just over a year. He was charismatic, charming, the kind of guy who filmed everything because memories matter. He didn't live with me. I'd given him my apartment code for emergencies. He had a toothbrush, a hoodie, nothing more. At first, he was supportive. Hospital visits, takeout, gentle concern. Then the comments started. Aren't you over this yet? It was months ago, Ruby. You're safe now. Like trauma obeys calendars. Last Friday, we were at his place watching a movie. His roommate was out of town. A quiet night, or so I thought. Halfway through, the screen exploded into fire. Buildings collapsing. People screaming. My chest tightened. Cold sweat. Tunnel vision. Evan, I said, barely able to breathe. Pause it. I'm having an attack. He sighed, not in concern, but irritation, and paused the movie. I stood up, pacing, grounding myself. That's when I noticed his phone. Held upright, pointed at me. What are you doing? I asked. He smiled. Just capturing the moment. Then I saw the screen. Instagram Live. Comments rolling in. And the caption, when your girlfriend is more dramatic than a soap opera. Something inside me broke. Turn it off, I whispered. He laughed. This is going viral, Ruby. Don't ruin it. And in that moment, between gasps of air and the roar of memory, I realized the fire didn't break me. But this might. The thing about a panic attack is that it lies to you. It tells you you're dying. It tells you you're trapped. It tells you you're weak. But that night, as my lungs fought for air and my skin prickled with cold sweat, I felt something else cut through the terror like a blade of ice-cold clarity. I wasn't trapped. Not by the fire, not by my memories, not by Evan. I was trapped by the idea that I owed him softness, patience, understanding, after he had just turned my suffering into a show. Evan, I said again, voice shaking, please, turn it off. He didn't even lower the phone. Instead, he tilted his head like I was being cute, like this was a bit, like my pain was the funniest thing he'd seen all week. Oh my God, he said, half laughing. Look at these comments. My stomach rolled. I could hear the faint ping of reactions, the flutter of hearts and emojis rising on his screen like my dignity floating away. I forced myself to look at him, really look. His eyes weren't worried, they weren't gentle, they were lit up. Not with love, with attention, with the thrill of being watched. I swallowed, trying to steady my breathing. My therapist's voice floated in my head. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch. But all I could see was the phone. All I could hear was the echo of screaming from the fire that had rewired my brain. All I could feel was betrayal crawling under my skin. Stop filming me, I said, louder now. I didn't consent. That word, consent, hit him like an insult. Evan's smile stiffened. Ruby, relax. It's Instagram. People live stream everything. I'm not everything. He rolled his eyes, and it was such a casual motion. Like he'd practiced it. Like he'd done it in his head every time I flinched at a smoke alarm or stepped away from a grill at a restaurant. You're always making things bigger than they need to be, he muttered. I gripped the back of a chair, knuckles whitening. The room felt too bright, too loud, too close. I'm having a panic attack, I said, each word like a stone. That's not me making things bigger. He sighed again, heavy, theatrical, like I was the problem ruining his Friday night. Okay, he said, turning slightly so the camera caught me from a better angle. Guys, she's doing it again. Hold on. The comments flashed fast, but I caught enough. Is she okay? This is hilarious. Drama queen. She needs help. Bro, why are you filming? Even strangers were divided. And the worst part? Evan was enjoying every second of it. I took one step toward him. Turn it off. His eyebrows lifted. Or what? That question wasn't playful. It wasn't teasing. It was a dare. A test. To see if I'd break down. If I'd cry. If I'd beg. Something in me snapped, not in a wild, messy way. In a quiet way. Like a cord being cut. I didn't lunge for his phone. I didn't scream. I didn't perform. I just turned and walked straight to his bathroom. The door clicked shut behind me, and I locked it. My hands were trembling so badly I nearly dropped the faucet handle. Cold water spilled over my palms. I splashed my face again and again, forcing my body to remember. Tile, water, breath. Not smoke, not heat, not screams. On the other side of the door, Evan's voice floated in, muffled but sharp. Ruby, come on, don't be so sensitive. And then, because he couldn't help himself, he added louder. She always does this, guys. It's like dating a walking PSA. My vision blurred. Not from panic this time. From rage. I stared at myself in the mirror. My face was pale. My eyes were too wide. My hair was damp at the temples. I looked like someone who had survived something and was still being punished for it. I dried my hands, opened the bathroom door, and walked past him without speaking. Evan was standing in the living room, still holding his phone up, still filming. Where are you going? He called, spinning slightly so the camera could follow me. Ruby, don't do this. You're embarrassing me. That made me pause. I turned slowly. The camera was still pointed at my face. I could see myself reflected faintly in the screen, framed by comments and hearts and strangers deciding what my pain meant. He smiled like he was waiting for the moment that would get clipped and reposted, the moment where I lost it. Instead, my voice came out steady. We're done. For a second, Evan didn't understand. Then his expression changed, like someone had shut off the music in the middle of a party. What? He scoffed. Because of a joke? Ruby, seriously. Because you filmed me during a panic attack, I said, calm enough to scare myself. And you laughed. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. You're being dramatic, he snapped, but the edge in his tone was different now. It wasn't confident. It was panicked. Because he could feel it too, that shift. He wasn't in control anymore. I walked to his bedroom, grabbed my keys and wallet from his nightstand, and headed for the door. Evan followed, still filming, because he didn't know how to stop. He didn't know how to exist without an audience. Ruby, he barked. You can't just leave. People are watching. I turned my head slightly, just enough to look him dead in the eye. Exactly, I said. Let them. And then I walked out. The hallway air hit me like freedom. My hands were still shaking, but not from fear. From adrenaline? From grief? From the aftershock of realizing the person I'd trusted had been waiting for my trauma to become a trend. I got in my truck and drove without thinking, ending up at my friend Marco's place. Marco wasn't just a friend. He was one of my brothers on the job. He'd seen me come apart after the fire, had stood guard without asking questions when I didn't want to talk. When I showed up at his door, he took one look at my face and stepped aside. No questions, he said. Come in. I crashed on his couch that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence like it was medicine. My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, calls, more calls. By morning, there were dozens. Evan's name over and over like a siren I refused to answer. Marco handed me coffee without speaking. Eventually, when my hand stopped trembling enough to hold the mug, I told him everything. His jaw clenched tighter with every sentence. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, Marco just stared at me like he was trying to make sure I was real. She live-streamed it, he said finally, voice low. I corrected automatically, because the habit of protecting Evan still lived in me like a bad reflex. He did. Marco's expression darkened. Ruby, he said, shaking his head slowly. That's beyond messed up. I stared down at my coffee. I'm done, I whispered. Marco nodded firmly. Good, but you know he's going to show up at your place. That landed heavy in my gut. Evan had my door code. He knew where I lived. And he'd just proven he didn't recognize boundaries unless there were consequences. I set my mug down. The calm I'd found overnight evaporated into something sharper. I need to go home, I said. Marco stood immediately, already reaching for his keys like he wasn't even going to let me do it alone. I'm coming with you, he said. I didn't argue, because the truth was, even though I'd walked out, even though I'd ended it, I still didn't understand how bad it was going to get. Not yet. By the time Marco pulled into my apartment complex, my phone was buzzing again. I didn't look at it. Not yet. I stood in front of my door, punched in the code, stepped inside, and the first thing I did was change it. New numbers, new lock, new boundary. Marco leaned against the kitchen counter while I moved through my apartment like I was inventorying a crime scene. Evan's hoodie on the back of a chair, a pair of sneakers by the door, a toothbrush in the bathroom cup. Earrings I'd forgotten I'd left behind. None of it felt heavy anymore. It felt foreign, like evidence from a life I didn't live anymore. I grabbed a cardboard box from the hall closet and started packing, clothes folded without ceremony, toiletries dumped in, books stacked. I didn't linger. I didn't cry. I was still too focused for that. Around noon, my phone rang. Not Evan. A woman's name flashed on the screen. Tara. Evan's best friend. I hesitated, then answered. What the actual hell did you do? She snapped. No greeting, no pause. I blinked. Excuse me? Evan is losing his mind, she said. He says you freaked out over a harmless video and then did something awful. What did you do to him, Ruby? For a moment, I almost laughed. I broke up with him, I said. That's it. There was silence on the line. What? I walked out, I repeated. I told him we were done. I went home. End of story. That's not what he's saying, Tara said slowly. I leaned against the counter, suddenly tired. Then he's lying. She exhaled sharply. He's saying you retaliated, that his Instagram is getting flooded with hate. His DMs are insane. He's freaking out. That made me straighten. What do you mean flooded? He's getting mass reported, she said. People are tagging his job. They're calling him abusive, cruel, a monster. My stomach dropped. I hadn't touched my phone since I left Marco's couch that morning. I didn't do anything, I said. I haven't posted. I haven't told anyone. I haven't even opened the app. Tara went quiet. Then very softly, oh. I could almost hear the pieces clicking together in her head. I think, she said slowly, I think people turned on him. After we hung up, curiosity finally won. I logged into Instagram, something I barely used, and searched Evan's account. It was still there, but the comments, they were brutal. This is disgusting. She's a firefighter with PTSD. What's wrong with you? You don't deserve a platform. Imagine mocking someone who saved a child's life. My chest tightened, not with panic this time, but shock. I texted Marco. Me. Do you know what's happening online? Marco. Call me. He answered on the first ring. Ruby, he said, voice tight. It's blowing up. What do you mean? People recognized you, he said, from the news coverage of that fire. Someone linked the article. Photos, interviews, everything. Once folks realized Evan was mocking a firefighter with PTSD during a panic attack, they lost it. I sank onto the couch. They're mass reporting his account, Marco continued. Tagging his workplace. His comments are a war zone. I didn't want this, I whispered. I know, he said immediately. And this isn't on you. He posted it. He laughed. He hit go live. I closed my eyes. There's more, Marco added. His roommate, Emma? She commented. My eyes opened. What did she say? She said Evan's been making fun of your PTSD for weeks, Marco said. That she's called him out on it more than once. I remembered Emma now. Quiet, observant. Always a little stiff around Evan. Now I knew why. Before I could respond, my doorbell rang. Once. Twice. Then again, fast and frantic. Marco looked at me. I moved to the door camera. Evan stood outside, hair disheveled, mascara streaked down his face. Because yes, he'd worn makeup that night for the stream. His phone was pressed to his ear. He was pacing, pressing the doorbell like it might forgive him if he tried hard enough. I've got to go, I told Marco quietly. He's here. I'm staying on the line, Marco said. I didn't open the door. I tapped the intercom. Your things are in a box outside, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Take them and leave. Ruby, please, Evan sobbed, his voice cracking through the speaker. Please, I need to talk to you. I watched him wipe his face with shaking hands. People are attacking me, he said. My boss texted me. You have to tell them it was a joke. I didn't tell anyone anything, I replied. The internet figured it out on its own. You have to fix this, he pleaded. Post something. Say you're fine. Say I didn't do anything wrong. The audacity knocked the air from my lungs. No. He slammed his palm against the door. I'm getting threats, he yelled. Someone said they know where I work. That made me pause. I don't believe in harassment. Ever. Listen, I said carefully. I'll make one post asking people not to harass you. That's it. I won't defend what you did. That's not enough, he screamed. Tell them it was staged. Tell them you were in on it. I felt something settle in my chest. Final, solid. Goodbye, Evan, I said. Don't come back. I disconnected the intercom. Through the camera, I watched him scream, cry, pace, then finally kneel to pick up the box of his things. When he left, my apartment felt quiet in a new way. Not empty. Safe. True to my word, I made a brief post asking people not to harass Evan. I reported the most threatening comments. I didn't excuse him. I didn't explain him. I just stepped out of the way. Over the next few days, the fallout kept growing. Evan's comments were eventually disabled. The story spread beyond his followers. And then, 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. Emma. Hi, Ruby. This is Emma, Evan's roommate. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. Something told me this wasn't over. Not yet. I agreed to meet Emma the next morning. A small coffee shop near the station. Neutral ground, public, quiet enough to talk without feeling exposed. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting stiffly with both hands wrapped around her cup like she needed something solid to hold on to. She looked relieved when she saw me, nervous too. Thank you for coming, she said immediately, before I'd even sat down. I nodded. You said you wanted to talk. She swallowed. I've been wanting to say something for weeks. That alone made my stomach twist. Emma stared down into her coffee. Evan's been awful about your PTSD since the beginning. I didn't respond. I just waited. He'd roll his eyes when you weren't looking, she continued quietly. Make jokes. Say things like, she milks it, or if she's that fragile, maybe she shouldn't be a firefighter. My jaw tightened. And the night you left, she said, after you walked out, I confronted him. I told him it was cruel. He laughed. That hurt more than I expected. Why tell me this now? I asked. Emma's fingers trembled slightly. Because he's trying to rewrite what happened. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. What do you mean? She finally looked up at me. He's telling people you were emotionally abusive. The word hit like a punch. What? He's saying he was scared of you, she said. That he filmed you for his own safety. That your episodes were unpredictable. My chest tightened, not with panic, but fear of a different kind. False accusations don't just hurt feelings. They ruin lives, careers, reputations. I have screenshots, Emma said quickly, reaching for her phone. Texts, messages, things he said to me about you. She turned the screen toward me. There it was. Evan, joking about filming me. Next time she freaks out. Evan calling my panic attacks content gold. Evan laughing when Emma told him it crossed a line. And then the messages from the night I left. Emma confronting him brushing it off, joking about how people eat this stuff up. My hands went cold. Why are you helping me? I asked quietly. Emma hesitated, then said, because I've been there. She told me about a car accident in college, about waking up screaming, about panic attacks she hid because people made fun of them, about how Evan knew all of it and still said those things about me. I should have said something sooner, she admitted, but I didn't, and I hate myself for that. I met her eyes. You're saying something now. She nodded, and if he keeps lying, I'm willing to share this. I took a slow breath. I don't want revenge. I know, she said. This isn't about revenge. It's about stopping him from hurting you again. That afternoon, I called a lawyer. Not to sue, not yet. To document. To protect myself. We compiled everything. The live stream, timestamps, screenshots, Emma's messages. My therapist wrote a statement confirming my diagnosis and treatment history. My department already knew about my PTSD. I'd been open about it, transparent. Still, the fear lingered. 2 weeks later, Evan escalated. Vague posts, cryptic captions, words like survivor and truth thrown around like weapons. Emma shut it down. She shared the receipts privately with mutual friends. Enough to make the whispers stop. Enough to expose the lie without turning it into a spectacle. Evan tried to evict her. He couldn't. Their names were both on the lease. Then his workplace called me. A PR firm. Irony so sharp it almost made me laugh. The HR representative was calm, professional. She explained Evan had claimed I was orchestrating harassment against him that was affecting his performance. I haven't organized anything, I said honestly. We broke up after he live-streamed my panic attack without consent. I even asked people not to harass him. She thanked me for my time. A week later, I heard through mutual connections that Evan was placed on a performance improvement plan. Not fired, but watched. A month after the breakup, his parents reached out. They asked to meet. I almost said no, but something in their message felt sincere. We met at a quiet restaurant. They looked tired, embarrassed. We raised him better than this, his father said, eyes heavy with shame. Sometimes people make choices we don't recognize, I replied gently. His mother reached across the table and squeezed my hand. We saw the news coverage from the fire. What you did was heroic. I'm so sorry he couldn't see that. I meant it when I said I felt sorry for them. For Evan, that feeling was gone. 2 months after we broke up, Evan moved back in with his parents. He and Emma negotiated an early lease termination. She found a new place, a new roommate. I filed a cease and desist letter through my attorney regarding the false abuse claims. Not a lawsuit, a line in the sand. The PTSD didn't vanish. It's still there, still something I work on every day. But I'm not ashamed of it anymore. And I'm not afraid of him. Not now. Not ever again. People kept asking me if it felt like revenge. They asked it gently sometimes, like they were afraid to offend me. Other times they asked with curiosity, as if they were hoping for a dramatic ending, something explosive, something satisfying enough to clip and share. The truth disappointed them. There was no grand takedown, no victory speech, no moment where I watched Evan lose everything and felt triumphant. What I felt was quiet. The cease and desist letter did its job. After that, Evan stopped posting anything that even hinted at me. The vague captions disappeared. The sad boy narrative evaporated. His social media presence shrank until it was mostly gym selfies and sunsets. Nothing real, nothing vulnerable. The kind of feed you build when you're afraid of being seen too clearly. Emma and I stayed in touch. Not in some dramatic storybook way, just occasional check-ins. Coffee after long shifts. Shared silences that didn't need filling. She never asked me to forgive Evan. She never defended him. She just showed up honestly. That mattered. At the station, my crew was solid as ever. They didn't treat me like glass. They didn't avoid the topic. When the panic attacks hit, someone would quietly step in, ground me, stand watch without making a scene. No cameras. No captions. Just people who understood that strength doesn't mean pretending you're unbreakable. A few weeks later, someone new joined our crew, a younger firefighter, fresh out of academy. During training, a smoke alarm malfunctioned. The sound was sharp and sudden, and I felt my chest tighten. Before I could even say anything, she looked at me and asked softly, "You good?" I nodded, took a breath. She didn't stare, didn't pry. That was respect. That was healing. Evan's parents sent a handwritten note a few months later. No excuses, no pressure, just an apology and a quiet hope that I was doing well. I never replied. Not out of anger, but because I didn't need to. The world had already seen enough. I still go to therapy. I still flinch sometimes when I smell smoke that isn't there. Some nights, I wake up convinced I hear a child coughing behind a bathroom door. PTSD doesn't disappear just because someone else faces consequences. But neither does self-respect. Walking away from Evan didn't fix me. It freed me. Freed me from shrinking my pain so someone else could feel bigger. Freed me from explaining trauma to someone who treated it like a personality flaw. Freed me from performing my suffering for approval. I never asked the internet to punish him. I never planned revenge. I never executed anything. All I did was leave. And sometimes, that's the most devastating thing you can do. Not because it hurts them, but because it saves you. Because when you stop covering for someone, when you stop minimizing what they did, when you step out of the frame entirely, people see them clearly, and you finally get to breathe.